Welcome to the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel. Or better yet, just call the book Samuel. There was no division between 1st and 2nd in the original Hebrew scroll. But better still, this book should be called 1st and 2nd David, because the book is really about David from beginning to end. David and his tenuous relationship with King Saul. Now, Samuel, he is going to anoint both Saul and David, and the story of Samuel's birth here, it is going to set the theological template for the whole book. Now, this story, it takes place in the hill country of Ephraim. This is the same place, by the way, where the last two stories in the book of Judges, they take place in the hill country of Ephraim as well. Now, in this hill country lived a man named Elkanah. And Elkanah, he had two wives. The name of the one was Hannah, and the name of the other was Peninnah. Now, Peninnah, she had children, but Hannah had no children. Now, right here at the beginning, we are presented with two classes of people. We have the favored, the exalted Peninnah. She's got children, but then Hannah, she is not favored. Because she has no children. Now, this is kind of ironic, isn't it? Because we know Hannah's the good guy in this story, and also Hannah, her name means favor. So this kind of clues us out at the beginning of the book that maybe those who appear to be favored or exalted in the eyes of man are not necessarily those whom God favors. This is going to be important, of course, when we look at David versus Saul. Well, that's because Peninnah, she is going to provoke her rival. That's what Hannah is called, her rival. And she's going to bitterly abuse Hannah for not having children. And our persecuted Hannah, on the other hand, in kind of like a mini Exodus moment, is going to cry out to the Lord in her distress. And then Yahweh is going to hear her prayer, is going to remember Hannah. And then Hannah is going to conceive and give birth to a son named Samuel. Now, this story arc of oppression, crying out, and deliverance, for Hannah, this story arc is going to have cosmic significance, and so much so that she is going to sing about it. Take a look at Hannah's song in 1 Samuel chapter 2. Hannah prayed and she said, "My heart exults in Yahweh. My horn is exalted in the Lord. My mouth derides my enemies." Who's her enemies? Probably Peninnah. She says to them, "Talk no more so very proudly. Let not arrogance come from your mouth. For the Lord, He is the one who makes poor and He makes rich. He brings low, He exalts, He raises up the poor from the dust." Hannah certainly considers herself as one who was poor, who was low, who was needy. And then, check it out, Hannah is going to get cosmic with his last line of the poem. She says, "Yahweh, the Lord, will judge the ends of the earth." Whoa, what is she doing here? He will give strength to his king and exalt the horn of his anointed. You see, Hannah, she is going to see her life experience as a paradigm for how Yahweh works in the world. What Yahweh did in my life here, in my story with Peninnah, this is what He's going to do for the whole cosmos. Yahweh is responsible for bringing the humble, or bringing the proud down low and raising up the humble. That's what He did in Hannah's life. And it is His plan for the whole cosmos. And He is going to bring it about in and through the Messiah. That is what this word anointed means, the Mashiach, the King. For He Himself, this King, He will be humble, but Yahweh will raise Him up. Now, this proud and humble template is going to be applied immediately in the next narrative, contrasting the sons of Eli, the priest, with the humble young boy Samuel. Samuel, who was ministering in the house of the Lord. That little description is applied to Samuel again and again here in these chapters, 1 Samuel 2 and 3, as it alternates between this description of Samuel, the boy who was ministering before Yahweh, ministering in the presence of Yahweh, who continued to grow in stature and favor with the Lord and with men. It is going to jump back and forth between descriptions of Samuel, using these similar expressions, and descriptions of the sons of Eli, who were worthless men. The sin of the young men was very great, for they treated the offering of the Lord with contempt, stealing the sacrificial meals from the people and eating it themselves, fattening themselves up on the sheep. What else did they do? The sons of Eli would lay with the women who were serving at the entrance of the tent of meeting. They didn't listen to the rebuke of their father. And they were getting away with it. But that is not how Yahweh runs the cosmos. According to Hannah, she knows better than this. For Yahweh says, "Far be it from me. For those who honor me, I will honor, and those who despise me, like the sons of Eli, will be lightly esteemed." Therefore, Samuel, who was faithfully ministering before the Lord, he will be exalted by Yahweh. Yahweh will be with him. He will let none of Samuel's words fall to the ground. All Israel will know that Samuel is established as a prophet. But the sons of Eli and the house of Eli will be cut off. Behold, the days are coming, Yahweh says, when I will cut off the strength of your house. Your sons will die. Yahweh is going to cut off that branch of the family tree. This is Aaron. The sons of Aaron are the priests in Israel, and Eli's branch of this family tree of priesthood in Israel is going to be cut off. Now, Saul, he is going to be the one holding the axe for most of this tree trimming. In 1 Samuel 22, rather tragically, he is going to kill or command that 85 priests of Yahweh are going to be executed in 1 Samuel 22, including Ahimelech and many of his sons. Abiathar is going to escape, however, and it is going to be Solomon who finally and fully fulfills this prophecy against the house of Eli. And this is going to happen in 1 Kings chapter 2, where we read, the king, Solomon, says to Abiathar, remember Abiathar, here he is, he says to Abiathar, "You deserve death, but I will not put you to death at this time." That's what Saul would do. Rather, I'm going to expel you from being a priest to Yahweh, and in so doing, fulfilling the word of the Lord that was spoken against the house of Eli. The proud will be brought low. But this lesson is not just for the house of Eli. No, all of Israel has been treating Yahweh with contempt. The book of Judges, which immediately precedes the action in 1 and 2 Samuel, it is essentially a moral and spiritual rock bottom for Israel. They are treating Yahweh horribly, worshiping other gods. It's really a miserable disaster. But we are going to see what rock bottom judgment looks like for Israel here in these chapters 4 through 6 at least. Now we know, according to what Moses taught us at Sinai, that rock bottom judgment for Israel is exile. That's what we learned in Leviticus 26, Deuteronomy 28. Exile for Israel, or in 1 Samuel at least, exile of its glory. Now the glory of Israel is the very presence of God himself residing above the Ark of the Covenant. And so Israel is going to be defeated by the Philistines here in chapter 4 of 1 Samuel. Let's take a look at a map, because that's just so much more fun. So here is Shiloh. This is where the tabernacle resides, and the Philistines are here on the coast, kind of the southwest area in Israel, and they are going to march up to Aphek, where they just stomp on the Israelites and soundly defeat them. So Israel's going to retreat back to Shiloh, and they go, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they regroup and they reason, you know what? If only we had the Ark of the Covenant with us. There's no way that Yahweh would let his throne be defeated and be captured. He would have to. He would be forced to grant us victory against our enemies. Ha, we will do that. Now, generations later, Centuries later in Israel, another group of Israelites is going to do effectively the same thing. When the Babylonians are marching towards Jerusalem, and Jeremiah is crying out to Israel, repent, repent. These Israelites in Jerusalem are going to stop their ears and they're going to say, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord. Yahweh certainly won't let the Babylonians defeat us because his temple is here. And yet, all those centuries in the future, Yahweh let his temple be destroyed by the Babylonians then, and he will let his ark be captured by the Philistines here in chapter 4. But remember, what is the Hannah story arc? The proud, and the Philistines are among that group as well, the proud will be brought low, and the humble, when they cry out to Yahweh, Yahweh will deliver them with an Exodus-like power. So just like in Exodus chapter 12, when Yahweh passed through the land of Egypt and struck down the firstborn, but first he targeted the gods of Egypt. It says in Exodus 12:12 that Yahweh executed judgment on the gods of Egypt. And so here in chapter 5, Yahweh is going to fight against the Philistines, and he's going to pass through the land of Philistia, targeting first the gods of Philistia, specifically the god Dagon, who is worshipped in a temple in Ashdod. Now take a look at the journey of the ark throughout these early chapters of 1 Samuel. The ark is initially at Shiloh, but then Israel says, come on, let's take it into battle with us. And they go to Aphek for the second round of fighting against Israel. But Israel was defeated and the ark was captured, taken to the temple of Dagon in Ashdod. And what happens? How does Yahweh judge the God of the Philistines? Well, the Philistines put the Ark of the Covenant in the temple of Dagon, very happy about themselves. Then they go to sleep and they wake up the next morning and the statue of Dagon had fallen face down, literally bowing before Yahweh and his ark. And its head, the head of Dagon, was chopped off and both of its hands were lying on the ground as well. This is like a sign of military defeat. And this military defeat is going to continue. It's going to sweep through the whole land of Philistia as Yahweh and his temple travels from, in his ark, travels from city to city to city in Philistia. They're like, oh, we don't want the ark here, you take it. We don't want the ark, you take it. Because every city where the ark travels, Yahweh afflicts them with pestilence, with tumors, and on their land, until finally they say, we don't want the Ark of the Covenant among us anymore. We have to send it back to Israel. We are no match for the God of Israel. And so they send it packing, and it goes from Philistine, let's find a more appropriate map here. This one works quite well. It is sent from Philistine Ekron into Israelite Beth Shemesh, and then eventually to Israelite Kiriath Jearim, where it will be located for the next 20 years. Well, upon the ark's return to Israel, Samuel, Israel's seventh judge, is going to accomplish what no other judge before him did. Now you see the book of Judges, it had 12 judges in it. Let's look at this chart of the 12 judges of Israel. 6 of them are major judges, the ones I have highlighted here in orange: Othniel, Ehud, Deborah, Gideon, Jephthah, and Samson. 6 major and 6 minor. Now the minor judges just get a couple of verses each. Shamgar is just 1 verse. Chapter 3, verse 31. If we only look then at the major judges, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the book of Judges, and number 7 is Samuel. And the 6 major judges, or all the judges really, in the book of Judges, they focused, or you may say they majored on military deliverance, saving Israel from their enemies. They didn't really focus too much on spiritual revival. But Samuel, our buddy Samuel, he did both in rather spectacular fashion as well. So take a look at 1 1 Samuel chapter 7, where we read that Samuel calls to the house of Israel, saying, "If you are returning to Yahweh with all your heart, then put away the foreign gods, the Ashtaroth from among you, and direct your heart to Yahweh and serve him only. For then he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines." It is really as simple as that. And so when they do that, when they repent, then Yahweh thunders with a mighty sound against the Philistines. Pay attention to how many times Yahweh is going to thunder in the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel. It's rather an interesting study. And Yahweh is going to drive the Philistines from Israel. They were defeated first at Aphek, but now here at Mizpah, under the godly leadership of Samuel, the Philistines are going to be driven from Israel, and they will be subdued all the days of Samuel. They will be defeated soundly so long as he judges Israel in righteousness. But then when Samuel gets old and his sons take over, Israel is going to long for a new form of leadership. We don't want Yahweh to be over us appointing judges like this. No, we want a king to go before us and fight our battles so that we may be like all other nations. Now we're going to turn to this ambiguous request in 1 Samuel 8 to 15 next.